Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursaleen, amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. Assalatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Welcome dear viewers to another segment of Do Not Harm Others. Let's begin with an excellence of reciting Durood Sharif. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever recites salat upon me once, Allah Ta'ala showers 10 mercies upon him. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Dear viewers of Madani Channel, our pious predecessors, rahimahumullah ta'ala, were very mindful of the rights of other people. And they avoided all those things which would lead to harming others, causing pain to others. Let's listen to an account and then we will mention other things regarding this very topic. Sayyiduna Salih Dahan rahmatullahi alayhi has said, Sayyiduna Jabir bin Zayd rahmatullahi alayhi once passed an orchard, a garden, and at the time he was conversing with one of his family members. So from the garden he picked up a stick, and the purpose of picking up the stick was to drive dogs away. Sometimes you have wild dogs who can harm you, who can end up biting you, causing you physical pain. So for this purpose he picked up a stick. And when he reached the masjid, he said to the people, I want you to preserve this stick, safeguard this stick, because this does not belong to me. I took it from a particular community, the garden of a community. The people asked, O Abu Sha'atha, what significance does this stick have? Meaning, if you think about it, it's nothing. The community won't complain. The community won't be bothered that you took the stick. Why are you so fearful? Why are you so adamant regarding this? He rahmatullahi alayhi said, if every person who passes the orchard keeps picking up one stick, nothing will be left in the orchard. In the morning, Sayyiduna Jabir bin Zayd rahmatullahi alayhi went and he returned the stick to the same orchard. SubhanAllah, this incident alone tells us about the mindset of our pious predecessors, rahimahumullah ta'ala. They took something, they placed it back. They did not ever want to fall into oppression, cruelty. They had read narrations, they knew about the Islamic teachings, and this is why they did what they did. They acted upon their knowledge. It's narrated in Al-Munabbihat, there are two habits which are most superior. No habit is superior to them. Number one, embracing faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and number two, benefiting Muslims. On the other hand, there are two habits that are the worst of all habits. No habit is worse than them. Number one, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and giving pain to Muslims. When we look at the lives of the pious people from this ummah, they were embodiments of the teachings of Islam. They believed in Allah, they believed in all of Islam, they acted upon all of Islam, and they refrained and stayed away from harming others. What is our situation today? What situation do we find ourselves in today? This is the thing that we must ponder upon. Are we benefiting others or are we harming others? And sometimes, when causing harm to others, ma'adallah, people go to the extent of disrespecting the deen, disrespecting the Dhat of Allah Azza wa Jal even. Listen to this account. Bahrul Ulum Allama Maulana Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi, a great scholar of the recent past. He relates regarding his grandfather Abdul Rahim bin Dost Muhammad. He says, my grandfather was a laborer. He would earn a wage. He would work in the market. Once when he went to receive his wage from the person he worked for, from the employer, that person said, you received your wage last week and today you've come again? Even though this is a stupendous thing to say. Obviously people come to receive their wage on a weekly basis or whatever has been agreed. And that person taunted the grandfather of Bahrul Ulum, and he said, you carry out worship on all of these ascetic practices, all of these devotional practices, and you do these things abundantly, why don't you ask him, meaning referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why don't you ask him for a large amount of money? Astaghfirullah. Taunting a Muslim about the worship he does, and then ending up saying what? In a sense, attacking the Dhat of Allah as well. Why don't you ask him? Na'udhu billah. Bahrul Ulum, Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi says, my grandfather did not reply to this person, and he returned home immediately, and he kept saying repeatedly that what type of people are they? Can we even consider them as Muslims? Are they even Muslims? Because why would a Muslim even say something like that? Let's be honest, dear viewers of Madani Channel. Why would you even, while speaking, go to the extent of saying, oh, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of this worship that you do, how come he doesn't give you anything? Astaghfirullah. How can a Muslim even say this? But this is the day and age we're living in. So Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi's grandfather said, they taunt a person for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about invoking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, the person who had said this was not God-fearing, otherwise why would he say it? He never even realized the error of his ways. Some people spend their whole lives heedless. We should seek refuge in Allah from living a heedless life. So Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi says, my grandfather remained extremely upset at this statement. How can someone even say that? And he stopped working for that person. These were people of self-respect. They had dignity. They weren't going to work for someone who disrespected Islam, worship, or mocked someone for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he left. And Bahrul Ulum Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is him deriving lesson from this account. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like people who disobey him. And he says those people, the employers, those people who had employed his grandfather, they remained alive as long as I remained alive. Mufti Abdul Mannan rahmatullahi alayhi, meaning he saw them throughout his life as well. And he says all of their arrogance, all of their haughtiness, that power driven by their gigantic ego, that had turned to dust. That was non-existent, that vanished. And he says one of them died in such a state that there was no one there to give him a spoon of water, to feed him a drop of water at the time of his death, even though he had 3 or 4 children alive. This is what happens when you disobey Allah, when you disobey the men of Allah, when you mock people for worshipping Allah. And in this day and age it's happening as well. People say to others, oh, you read so much salah, what have you achieved? Oh, you do so much dhikr, you attend the masjid day and night, what have you gained? Astaghfirullah, is this something that a Muslim should say? Can even think of saying? Well, people are saying it. People don't even think twice. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu has narrated that the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who has caused pain, caused harm to a Muslim, or has deceived a Muslim, is accursed. People take these things lightly. But if you harm your fellow Muslims, if you disregard their rights, then you're accursed. You deceive them, you're accursed. Being accursed is not a small thing. What does it mean that the curse of Allah is upon someone? La'natullahi alayhi. What does it mean? It means that a person is distant from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't want to be left at the mercy of people. But this is what happens when you harm others, when you harm fellow Muslims, when you disrespect them, when you deceive them, when you insult them, when you embarrass them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distances you from His mercy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq to understand what has been mentioned and to act upon it as well. Ameen. Bijahin Nabi al-Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
We love Madani Channel. We love Madani Channel. We love Madani Channel.